Greetings from Temecula, California, and welcome to the Ryder Report. It is Wednesday, middle of the week, and yes, it also happens to be National Punctuation Day. That's right, a day when we celebrate all those little marks that make words readable and sentences make sense. Now, don't laugh, but I've been thinking to myself all day, what's the best punctuation mark? You know, the period, solid, definitive, ends the thought, period. The question mark, curious, probing, always searching. The question mark. The exclamation point. The drama. Never subtle. Drama queen, if it was a person. The exclamation point. But I will tell you, the most underrated of them all is the semicolon. Oh yes. The semicolon is elegant, versatile. It says I could end this sentence, but I'm not done with you yet. The semicolon is the bridge builder of punctuation, uniting two thoughts under one banner. Very underrated, very underappreciated, just like a few of our sports teams, by the way. Speaking of which, NBA season preview rolls on. We're going to try to go 30 teams in 30 days. Today we hit the New York Knicks, the Charlotte Hornets, and the Phoenix Suns. Three very different franchises, three very different stories. But all of them trying to answer the same question. How do we finally get over the hump? And if you think basketball is busy, baseball was a turbulent ride today. Upsets, rallies, collapses, you name it. We got highlights. We'll break it all down. And I'll tell you what it means for the stretch run. Plus, we head to Stillwater, Oklahoma. With Mike Gundy gone, what's next for that program? A long-time identity suddenly in transition. Is there a plan? Or is Oklahoma State just adrift? All of that and more right now. You're listening to the Ryder Report. I am Ryder Bullock. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to start in baseball. Last night in Cleveland, Guardians designated hitter David Fry, who, by the way, has been a big part of that lineup this season, takes a 99-mile-an-hour fastball straight to the face. Straight to the face. Tariq Skubal on the mound, Cy Young winner, throws a heater. Fry's trying to bunt, and it just rides up on him. He goes down immediately, bloodied. Trainers rush out. The place goes quiet. Really scary moment. Now, here's the good news. Fry's going to be okay. Broken nose, some facial features out of whack, but no surgery needed. 6 to 8 weeks, so yes, that's a big chunk of time, but considering what it looked like in the moment, that is a relief. He was released from the hospital today, resting at home, and even gave a thumbs up as he was carted off. So all things considered, that's about the best outcome you can ask for after something like that. Skubal, listen, he was shaken. You could tell. He was pacing around the infield, throws his glove. He knew right away this was bad. And it rattled him. You saw it. Wild pitch, error balk, and suddenly Cleveland rallies without even hitting a ball hard. Baseball's a funny game, but in that moment, you could tell his mind wasn't fully there anymore. And Fry's mind, let's not forget, this guy is an all-star, came back late after elbow surgery, has been a presence for this team, and now Cleveland in a dead heat for the AL Central. We'll talk about that later. They lose him for basically the rest of the regular season. That's not nothing. That's a big piece of their lineup and their clubhouse. And 6 to 8 weeks, you've got, 5 days till playoffs start. So he might miss a small chunk of the playoffs too. So that is a big piece of their lineup and their clubhouse. This was scary, and thank goodness it wasn't worse. Scubble feels terrible, as he should, but it's not intentional. It's just baseball. The Guardians get the win, tie up the division race. We'll talk about what happened today in Cleveland. But they also walk away knowing they're going to have to move forward without Fry for at least a month and a half. Big story in Cleveland right now, and we'll see how they hold up in a dead-even division race. That game going on now. Let's move over to the NFL. Washington Commanders coming off a 41-24 win over Las Vegas on Sunday. But listen, it's a little messy heading into Atlanta this Sunday. Quarterback Jaden Daniels, last year's Offensive Rookie of the Year, says he feels good, more like himself, and I believe him. But here's the thing, that doesn't mean he's taking the field. Not yet. He's limited in practice, wearing a brace on his left knee, something he's never worn at a game before. And the team's doctors are still making the call. Daniel says he's doing everything he can, all the throwing drills, mimicking slides in the pocket, testing that knee. Coach Dan Quinn calls him the ultimate competitor, and he is. But ultimately, Sunday's game plan, that's up to the medical staff. And don't forget Terry McLaurin, another piece of this offense, didn't practice today with a right quad injury. Noah Brown groin, Austin Eckler's on IR. Tight end John Bates also out with a groin injury. So if Daniel suits up, he could be doing it without 2 of his top 3 receivers. That's a lot of moving parts. Now, Marcus Mariota filled in last week, and he was solid, folks. 15 of 21, 207 yards, a touchdown, 6 runs for 40 yards. In the past 2 seasons and 9 quarters filling in for Daniels, he hasn't thrown an interception, and the team's 3-0. So Washington can weather the storm, but make no mistake, if both Daniels and McLaurin miss Sunday, this offense could look very different than it did against the Raiders. So watch the injury report, watch Daniels' status, watch McLaurin's, and understand that even a 2-1 team can have a Sunday where they look like a completely different offense depending on who's healthy. That's football. That's why we love it. Sticking with football, there are big names hitting the Hall of Fame ballot for the first time. Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald, 2 all-timers, no question. First year of eligibility. And they're on the list for the 2026 Pro Football Hall of Fame class. Brees, second all-time in passing yards, second in touchdowns, 13-time Pro Bowler, a Super Bowl champion, a guy who put New Orleans on his back and gave that city its only Lombardi trophy. You can't write the history of the league without him. And Fitzgerald, Mr. Cardinal, 17 years, second only to Jerry Rice in catches and yards, 9 1,000-yard seasons. That postseason in 2008, legendary. He single-handedly carried Arizona to the Super Bowl. So you've got those 2 headliners, and then you look at the rest of the first-timers, Phillip Rivers, Alex Smith, Jason Witten, Frank Gore, LaShawn McCoy. That's a lot of talent. But Brees and Fitzgerald, they're the slam dunks. They're the ones who are walking into Canton. Everybody else we'll see. But remember, the committee whittles this list down. 128 names now, 50 in October, then 25, then 15. And the process gets ugly because you've still got guys like Eli Manning, Reggie Wayne, Torrey Holt, Terrell Suggs, all waiting their turn, and only 4 guys got in last year, smallest class in 20 years. So there's backlog, there's traffic, but make no mistake, Brees and Fitzgerald, first ballot, no debate. you don't even need to have the meeting. Those two are in. It's just a matter of who joins them. From Canton to the NBA now, and the Heat are bringing back a familiar face, Precious Achiuwa. Remember him, the first-round pick back in 2020? He's agreed to a one-year deal to return to Miami. Now listen, this isn't earth-shattering. Nobody's confusing this with a blockbuster. But here's what it is. The Heat need size. They need depth behind Bam Adebayo. They've been searching for a body in that front court. And Achiuwa gives them exactly that. He's not going to come in and give you 20 and 10, but he's athletic. He can rebound. He's versatile enough to play both front court sports. And he knows the system. He's bounced around. Sure, Toronto, New York showed some flashes, but has yet to put it all together consistently. Career numbers, 7 points, 6 boards a night, solid rotation guy. And that's what it is. And for Miami, who's always trying to piece together that supporting cast around Bam and Hero, this is a classic Heat move. Now remember, Jimmy Butler's gone. So low risk, maybe some upside if he finally figures it out. So is this the move that gets Miami over the top in the East? No, but it's a piece, it's a reunion, and for a team that plays hard and defends hard, Achiuwa fits the culture, and that's what this is. Sticking with basketball and staying in the East because Media Day was all about Jalen Brunson finally talking about the firing of Tom Thibodeau. Now listen, we all knew this was going to be emotional. Brunson grew up around Tibbs. His father played for him, coached with him. The connection goes back decades. And Brunson, he's blossomed under him. Back-to-back All-Star, All-NBA Clutch Player of the Year, 26 a night under Thibodeau. The Knicks had their best 3-year run in a generation. First conference final since 2000, and it still wasn't enough to save the coach. Now, Brunson admitted it was hard. Said it was sad, and of course it was. Tibbs meant a lot to his career. But here's the thing. The Knicks didn't just change the coach. They changed direction. They bring in Mike Brown. And don't forget, this is after trading for Karl-Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges. This team has loaded up. They've reset expectations. Now, is Mike Brown the right guy? That's the question. We'll find out. He's a different voice, a different style. Offense first, more modern. We'll see how that meshes with Brunson, who has been nothing short of spectacular since putting on a Knick uniform. And let's not, forget Brunson, who's feeling it. It's Josh Hart, too. He said he'll always love Tibbs. Credit him for putting him in a position to get paid. But he's excited for what's next. That's the theme here. Bittersweet. A lot of respect for what Thibodeau did, but the organization clearly felt they hit a ceiling and made the change. So Brunson is the face of the Knicks now. He's got Towns, he's got Bridges, he's got a deep roster, and he's got a new coach. And for the first time in a long time, the Knicks aren't just trying to be relevant, they're expected to contend. And that's where they are, and that's why Thibodeau isn't there anymore. And I'm going to stay with the Knicks for a minute because this is a completely different conversation now than it was just a couple of years ago. Think about it. Before Thibodeau, this was a franchise that couldn't even sniff the postseason. Now they're coming off back-to-back 50-win seasons, a trip to the conference finals, and they enter the year as one of the favorites to reach the NBA Finals. That's where they are. Mike Brown inherits maybe the best roster in the Eastern Conference. They're bringing back all 5 starters. You've got Brunson, you've got Karl Anthony Towns, you've got Mikal Bridges, you've got Josh Hart, Randall Mitchell, Robinson. This is a loaded team. And they didn't bring Brown in to rebuild. They didn't bring him to tinker. They brought him in because they believe he can take them from really good to champion. Now, let's be honest. There's risk here. Thibodeau's teams played hard. They're disciplined. And they had an identity. Brown wants to play faster. Maybe take the ball out of Brunson's hands a little more. That's a gamble. Brunson has been the engine. You're going to tweak that now. But to his credit, Brunson said the right things. He said the right things. If it helps the team win, he'll do it. And that is leadership. And listen, these guys know what's at stake. Towns said it. Bridges said it. They feel the hurt from last year. They feel the target on their backs. They've got the second best title odds in the league behind Oklahoma City and Vegas. Think about that. The Knicks, for years a punchline, are now one of the betting favorites to win it all. So there are no more moral victories. You don't get to the conference finals and pat yourself on the back anymore. That's over. It's finals or bust for this team. You fire Thibodeau after the best season you've had in 25 years. And in this town, with this fan base, the bar is raised. You don't meet that bar, it's going to get ugly fast. That's the reality. But right now, heading into camp, the Knicks are not just relevant. They're contenders for the first time in a very long time. They're supposed to be there at the end. I like the Knicks. I've got them as my early favorite in the East. Vegas can put Cleveland at the top in the East all they want. But I'm not buying it, not with what's going on there. Look at the Cavaliers. Darius Garland still not ready. Limited activity in camp. Expected to miss at least the first month of the season. Toe surgery in June, still not right. And that's after he missed playoff games with that same injury. This is their point guard, their engine alongside Donovan Mitchell, and he's not available. You're telling me they're going to start the season with Donovan Mitchell running the point and Sam Merrill at shooting guard? Please. That doesn't scare anybody. Lonzo Ball's nice, but you have no idea what you're going to get with him. He hasn't been healthy in years. And Max Struss, out for 2 months with a broken foot. That's another starter gone. So you've got Garland on the shelf, Struss on the shelf, and you're telling me this team is the favorite in the East? Vegas may think so, but I don't see it. And then they add Thomas Bryant from Indiana. Nice guy, good depth piece. But let's be honest, that doesn't move the needle. He's a backup big, that's all. He's not changing your season. The Cavs had the best record in the East last year, but let's remember they flamed out in the second round against Indiana. Now they're banged up before the season even starts. Does not give me warm and fuzzy feelings about Cleveland. Meanwhile, Boston, totally different team. No Porzingis, no Drew Holiday. Jason Tatum's torn ACL leaves, and he's out for the foreseeable future. We talked about yesterday. He's wanting to play. He said, I didn't say that I wasn't going to play next season. But we told you, don't rush that. There's no timetable to that. So as far as we know, Tatum is not going to be playing for Boston. He's going to be on the bench with a torn ACL. That is healing great. He's been rehabbing 6 days a week, but still without their star for the foreseeable future. Indiana will be without Tyrese Halliburton, also with a torn ACL. They've got depth, but with Andrew Nembhard, but it'll take time to reconfigure. So the Knicks might be the only one of last year's top 4 in the East with their roster fully intact and trending up. The Knicks bring back everybody. They've got Brunson at the peak of his powers, and Mike Brown trying to unlock another gear. To me right now, the Knicks look stable ahead of the curve and ready to separate themselves early, like the best team in the East. And I'll take them over Cleveland every day of the week. To the Charlotte Hornets, let's dive in on this one. This team has been stuck in the basement of the Eastern Conference for a while now. 9 straight years without making the playoffs. Last season, they went 19-63, 14th in the East, missing the playoffs for the 4th year in a row. Injuries played a big part. LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller both went down, season-ending injuries, and that really killed any momentum they could have had. But this offseason, the Hornets made some interesting moves. Let's start with the draft. They land Con Knuppel, the 4th overall pick out of Duke. He's a sharpshooter, and Charlotte has had some of the worst three-point percentages in the league the last 3 years, 29th, 21st, 28th. Knuppel should help spread the floor. He also just won Summer League MVP and helped lead Charlotte to the Summer League Championship in Las Vegas. So he comes in with some confidence. They also draft Ryan Kalkbrenner, Liam McNeely, Sion James, all part of that Summer League team as well. So the rookie class is promising. Now the veterans. They added Colin Sexton, Pat Conovan via trade, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Mason Plumlee as free agents. These are guys who can stabilize the team and give Charlotte some floor. They also re-signed Trey Mann. So the young core of Ball, Miller, and Mann is intact and healthy going into the season. Speaking of health, that's really the key storyline here. LaMelo Ball is a spectacular player, one of the league's best playmakers and scorers. But last year he played fewer than 50 games despite averaging 25 points and 7 assists when he did play. Brandon Miller only played 27 games because of a wrist injury. If those two stay healthy, this team could look very different than last year. Knuppel's ability to stretch the floor, paired with Miller attacking the basket and Ball running the offense, gives Charlotte a more dynamic style of play. So big dates to mark on your calendar if you're a Hornets fan. November 28th versus the Bulls, 7:30 Eastern, an early test for that team. And then January 21st versus the Cavaliers at 7 o'clock Eastern time, part of the East race, and an early chance to see how far they've come. The big question for Charlotte is, can this team get into play-in contention? Over the past 3 seasons, the final team to make the SoFi play-in tournament had 37, 36, and 40 wins. So around 38 wins on average, the Hornets would need to double last season's wins just to sniff that. It is possible. They can look at last year's Pistons, who tripled their win total, but it's not a guarantee. So the storylines to watch is health. Can LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller stay on the floor? The rookie impact. Can Con Knuppel and the rookie class step in and contribute immediately? Veteran leadership. Sexton, DeWitt, Plumlee. Can they give the young core stability and keep this team competitive? And an offensive upgrade. Can Charlotte finally improve from one of the league's worst three-point shooting teams into a dynamic, modern offense? This is a young, talented, promising team, but it's still very much a work in progress. Potential is there. Excitement is there, but don't expect playoffs just yet. Watch this core develop and whether these veteran additions actually help Charlotte take the next step. The Eastern Conference is tough, and the Hornets still have a lot to prove. From east to west and from Charlotte to Phoenix, the Suns, they are starting over again. New general manager, new coach, new roster. Jordan Ott, Brian Gregory. You've got Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, Mark Williams, and the kid Mulach. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. We'll get his name right. I'll have all season to learn it. The 19-year-old 7-footer from South Sudan. We'll see what he is. A lot of change, a lot of moving pieces, but one thing hasn't changed. This is Devin Booker's team, period. 11 years in, 29 years old, still in his prime. Signed through 2030. He's the guy. He's the face of the franchise. He's already the all-time leading scorer for the Suns, past Walter Davis, Stoudemire, Nash, the whole list. And he's saying it himself, unfinished business. That's leadership talk. He's putting it on himself. Now, let's be honest. The Suns just came off a 36-46 disaster. Durant's gone. Beal's gone. They blew the whole thing up. And they're basically saying, we're going to rebuild around Booker. And these young guys, that's the bet. So what do I expect? I don't think you're talking contender here. Not this year. Not when you've got Dallas, Denver, Oklahoma City, Golden State still hanging around. But if Jalen Green can take a step, if Brooks gives you toughness and defense, if Williams actually stays healthy, if the 19-year-old kid McCullough is even close to what they think he can be, then you've got something to grow with. But it's all about Booker. He's got to be the anchor. He's got to be the guy who keeps them from going off the rails. If he stays healthy and plays at the level we know he can, they'll be competitive. Maybe they sneak into the playoffs, maybe not. But the whole thing is about building a foundation, because let me tell you, Booker doesn't want to waste his prime years babysitting a rebuild. He wants to win. He's seen the finals. He's got a taste of it in 21. He doesn't want to go backwards. And if this doesn't turn quick enough, don't kid yourself. He could start looking around. Stars don't sit still forever. So for now, my expectations better than last year, but not a contender. Competitive, scrappy, maybe sneak into the 7-10 range in the West, but make no mistake, this whole thing rests on Devin Booker's shoulders. Phoenix opens the 25-26 regular season against the Sacramento Kings in Phoenix. The Kings finished 3-1 against the Suns last season. Neither team is considered a championship contender, but Phoenix will play before the home fans. The unknown of this team gives the opener some intrigue, and we will definitely be watching. From the NBA to college football, and a story that we broke right here on the Ryder Report yesterday. Mike Gundy is out of a job at Oklahoma State. Fired. So the question becomes, who's next? And let me tell you something. The guy sitting on the hottest seat in America right now is Billy Napier at Florida. Not even close. This isn't opinion. This is fact. Look at the numbers. He's 3-11 against Florida's rivals. 3-11. You can't survive that down there. He's got the worst winning percentage of any Florida coach since 1950. That wasn't just some interim. And listen, he got a second chance last year, right? He finishes strong, saves his job fine. Then he comes into this season and he's 1-3. You lose to South Florida. That was, the momentum's gone after that. You had no chance against Miami after that loss. Totally wasted. And this guy insists on calling the plays. You got a 5-star kid like DJ Lagway, and the offense is flat. That's on Napier. I'm sorry, but that is on Napier. Happy punctuation day, point blank in the period. It is your fault. Now, people are going to say, what about Dambo? Is Dambo in trouble at Clemson? Totally different situation. Dambo's got 2 national championships. He built Clemson into a monster. He's got a massive buyout. You're not paying that? No way. And the gripes with him aren't even about the record so much. It's about philosophy. He won't use the transfer portal. He's stuck in his ways, and that's why the fan base is restless. But he's not getting fired tomorrow. Not with that resume, not with that contract. But, just like Mike Gundy was stuck in his ways. College football passed him by. And Nick Saban, college football passed him by. The transfer portal is the reason Nick Saban retired. Just ask him; he'll tell you. And he couldn't get into it. Dambo's the same way. So you're gonna have to learn how to adjust with it, or it will pass you by, and you will either get fired like Mike Gundy, or you can walk out with your head held high. Like Nick Saban. Or you can learn to adapt, and maybe you can beat Georgia Tech next year, but I don't know. That one's on Dambo, but Billy Napier is the guy who is seated in scalding hot water right now. Dambo is warm because people are annoyed with him, but Billy Napier, big difference. The other is about direction. So if we're talking about who's next, all roads lead to Gainesville, Florida, and not for the right reasons. So back to not who's next, but what's next for Oklahoma State. They knew this day was coming. Gundy barely survived last year, winless in the Big 12, capped off with a 52-0 embarrassment at Colorado. He cleaned house, new staff, shaky quarterback situation, and then your starter, Hinje breaks his foot in the opener. That's a recipe for disaster. And then you lose at home to Tulsa for the first time since 1951. That's it. Ball game. You're done. Now listen, Gundy is Oklahoma State football. He is the all-time winningest coach. Built them up, gave them 9 AP top 20 finishes, made Stillwater a name. But the truth is the program fell off after 23, and the league moved without them. Texas and Oklahoma leave. You thought maybe the Cowboys would rise, but look around. Texas Tech's investing. Other schools are surging. Newcomers like Arizona and Arizona State have thrived. And Oklahoma State just feels stuck in neutral. So where do you go from here? You got candidates. Jeff Taylor, big name. A lot of Texas ties. Built University of Texas San Antonio into a winner. G.J. Kine, young, sharp, offensive guy. Tulsa roots, knows the region, could bring juice. Colin Klein, Aggies offensive coordinator now, but a Kansas State legend, fits the Big 12 footprint. Eric Morris, air raid guy, doing good things at North Texas. And then how about Ben Arbuckle? He's young, but he's a riser, and he's right there at Oklahoma. Those are the names. The next coach's job is clear. You got to stabilize this roster. They brought in 62 newcomers this year, 38 transfers. That's an overhaul. You've got some young pieces. Like I said, Hinje a quarterback when he's healthy. Rodney Fields Jr. at running back. Wendell Gregory if he can stay out of trouble. But you also got to protect those 26 recruits. Beal, Overton, Presley. or you risk losing your best future talent. This is not an easy rebuild. You know, Oklahoma State still has history, still has facilities, still has money, but it's a critical hire. They can either go safe with an older, established guy like Traylor, or take a swing on someone young and hungry like Kine. The question is, are they trying to steady the ship, or are they trying to make a statement? Because right now in Oklahoma State, it's a crossroads in this new Big 12. From college football to a thunderous day in baseball, we start in the Bronx, where Aaron Judge continues to cement his legacy. The Yankees slugger crushed a go-ahead 3-run homer in the second inning against the White Sox, his 50th of the season. That ties the Major League record with 4 separate 50-homer campaigns. The only others to do it, Babe Ruth, Mark McGwire, and Sammy Sosa. Judge now leads the majors in batting average at .326, OPS at 1.130, and RBIs with 108 at age 33. And all in the middle of a playoff chase. From the diamond to the gridiron, a major quarterback change in New York. The Giants have turned the keys over to rookie Jackson Dart. The 22-year-old first-round pick out of Ole Miss takes over for Russell Wilson after an 0-3 start. Dart has yet to throw a pass in a regular season game, but he'll get his chance Sunday when the Giants host the undefeated Chargers. Coach Brian DeBall said, quote, "the right move for our football team." Wilson, meanwhile, says he's not done and plans to stay ready in the backup role. To Indiana, where the basketball community is saying goodbye to one of its most important figures. Nancy Leonard, the wife of Hall of Famer coach Bob Slick Leonard, has passed away at the age of 93. Known as the First Lady of Indiana basketball, Nancy was instrumental in keeping the Pacers in Indianapolis, spearheading the legendary 1977 Save the Pacers telethon. She also helped launch the Pacemates, the league's first dance team, and later became one of the first women to run an NBA front office. For decades, she was a fixture courtside, cheering on the Pacers and supporting players and staff. Pacers guard Tyrese Halliburton called her, quote, "the heart of Indiana basketball." Staying in Indiana, senior safety Lewis Moore was granted eligibility after a Texas judge ruled the NCAA's 5-year clock unfairly counted his junior college year. Moore leads the undefeated Hoosiers in tackles and interceptions, and now he'll stay on the field, a ruling his attorney called, quote, "a victory for every student athlete who's been unfairly paralyzed." Indiana is undefeated, and they have a game against Iowa on the road Saturday at 3:30. To baseball, Nationals taking on the Braves in Atlanta. The Washington Nationals snapped the Atlanta Braves' 10-game winning streak with a thrilling 4-3 victory. James Wood went deep twice, hitting solo homers in the 6th and 8th, giving him 30 for the season. Josh Bell added a 21st homer, leading off the 4th. Rookie Dalen Lyle also contributed 3 hits and an RBI, while Jose Ferrer notched his 10th save. Mitchell Parker earned the win out of the bullpen, relieving Andrew Alvarez, who pitched 4 1/3 scoreless innings and now has opponents hitting just .184 with a 2.31 ERA in his young career. Bryce Elder took the loss for Atlanta, allowing 3 runs over 7 innings with 7 strikeouts. The key moment came in the 9th when Ronald Acuna Jr. ruled safe on an infield single after replay overturned the initial call. A dramatic replay ended the game moments later, preserving the Nationals' win. Up next, Atlanta starts their final three-game series Friday against the Pirates with lefty Joey Wentz on the mound, while Washington hosts the White Sox with right-handed pitcher Cade Cavilli set to start. Out in San Diego, the Milwaukee Brewers avoided a three-game sweep, ending the Padres 3-1. Jackson Chourio robbed Xander Bogaerts of a potential three-run homer in the first inning with a spectacular catch, and Nick Mears closed a bases-loaded threat in the seventh. Bryce Terang drove in the go-ahead run in the seventh, and Danny Jansen hit a solo homer in the ninth. Aaron Ashby earned the win, and Abner Irby pitched a perfect ninth for his sixth save. With the win, the Brewers moved to within one game of clinching the best record in the National League, securing home field advantage throughout the postseason. The Brewers take on the Reds Friday night with Quinn Priester on the mound, while the Padres face Arizona. Their starting pitcher has yet to be announced. In Philadelphia, the Phillies absolutely powered up in an 11-1 rout of the Miami Marlins. Jesus Luzardo picked up his 15th win of the season, while Ryan Weathers took the loss for Miami. The story, the long ball. Philadelphia slugged 6 home runs on the night. Kyle Schwarber blasted 2, including a monster 468-foot shot in the 7th. Johan Rojas went deep twice as well, driving in 5 runs total. Alec Boehm and Tony Kemp each added homers to the tally. For Miami, the offense just couldn't keep pace. They managed only 5 hits, with Ernie Wagman's RBI single in the second inning providing their lone run. Key stat of the day, every Philadelphia run came in via the home run ball. 11 runs, all driven in by homers. Final line, Phillies 11, Marlins 1. Up next, Philadelphia looks to keep the bats hot as they roll into their final weekend series, while Miami plays spoiler down the stretch. They will play each other again tomorrow. In Baltimore, the Tampa Bay Rays rolled past the Orioles 6-2 behind steady pitching and some timely power. Brandon Lowe set the tone early. An RBI double in the first, and then a solo homer in the third, his 21st of the season. Hunter Feduca and Tristan Gray had RBI doubles, and Jacob Magnum crushed a solo shot in the 8th. On the mound, Shane Baez tossed 4 no-hit innings before handing it over to the bullpen. Edwin Uteka picked up his 10th win, and the Tampa pen combined to hold Baltimore to just 3 hits. The Orioles didn't score until the 8th, when Jordan Westbug's infield single brought home 2 runs. But that was all they could manage. Key stat, the Rays staff carried a no-hitter into the 6th inning and struck out 7 while walking just 5. Rays beat the Orioles 6-2. Up next, Tampa Bay looks to close out the season strong, while Baltimore plays for the pride in their final home stand. They will see each other again tomorrow. North of the border in Toronto, where the Red Sox came in with momentum and left with even more. Garrett Crockett absolutely dealing. 8 shutout innings, just 3 hits, 6 strikes, no walks. He improves to 18-5 and now leads the majors with 255 strikeouts. Carlos Navarez in the 8th breaks it wide open. A 3-run homer off Jose Barreros, his 15th, making it 7-0 Sox. Trevor Story also had himself a night, collecting 3 hits. Only Blue Jays offense, Isaiah Kinner Felipe with a solo homer in the 9th. Weiler Abreu ended it with a defensive gem, throwing out Alejandro Kirk at first on a 1-hopper from right. Final in Toronto, Red Sox 7, Blue Jays 1. Boston has now won 4 of 5, while the Jays have dropped 6 of 7 and scored 1 run or fewer in all 6 of their losses. Brayan Bello gets the ball for Boston on Thursday. Toronto pushed back Shane Bieber to Friday and has it named Thursday's starter. Talked about the Bronx talked about the Bronx, talked about Yankees a moment ago, but the Yankees took care of business against the White Sox. Bottom of the second, Aaron Judge continues to crush at 3-run blaster to center after a sacrifice fly had it tied up. Yankees up 3-1. In the third, Paul Goldschmidt RBI single. Then Jazz Chisholm Jr. adds an RBI double. It's 5-1. Eighth inning, more fireworks. Trent Grisham with a 2-run shot, and Judge again homering to right center for his second of the night. Final from Yankee Stadium, Yankees roll 8-1. Max Fried picks up win number 19, while Chicago's John Cannon falls to 4-10. Judge finishes with 2 homers, 4 RBIs, and the Yankees keep pressure on Toronto in the AL East. Other games going on in Major League Baseball. How about the Tigers and the Guardians? Guardians win it 5-1. Once 15 and a half games back, the Guardians beat the Tigers 5-1 to take a 1-game lead in the American League Central. Wow. Pirates beat the Reds 4-3 in 11. The Cubs beat the Mets 10-3. Rangers beat the Twins 4-2. Games going on right now. Athletics are leading the Astros 4-0 middle of the 7th. Giants taking on the Cardinals in San Francisco. Giants lead at 3-2, top of the 8th. Dodgers on the road against the Diamondbacks. They are winning at 4-1, top of the 8th. Mariners are defeating the Rockies right now, top of the 8th, 8-1. And the Angels are winning against the Royals 3-2, top of the 8th. Standings right now in baseball. Toronto has clinched a spot. New York has clinched a spot. They are still playing for division. Both teams at 90 wins right now. Boston still in it with 87, sitting at third place in the American League East. American League Central, Cleveland and Detroit battling it out. 1 game separates them. Cleveland just took the lead. They were 15 and a half games back in the first of the month. Absolutely phenomenal there. Cleveland and Detroit battling for a spot. In the American League West, Seattle has clinched a spot. They have 88 wins. Houston is still alive with 84 wins. National League, the Philadelphia Phillies have clinched that division. The Mets and the Mariners still battling for second place, but the Mets have 81 wins. The Mariners have 77. In the Central, Milwaukee has clinched the Central. Chicago, the Cubs, have clinched a playoff spot. Cincinnati and St. Louis still battling it. Cincinnati looking like it might beat the Mets out in a playoff spot. We're still kind of waiting to see about that. And then the West, the Dodgers and the Padres have both clinched a playoff spot. We're just trying to see who will win the division. Dodgers right now a game up on the Padres, 88-87. So we talk about the wild card right now in the American League. The Yankees have it clinched. Boston, Detroit, and Houston all looking all trying to battle for a wild card spot in the American League. National League, Cubs and the Padres have that on lock. Mets, Arizona, Cincinnati, St. Louis, Miami, all still alive. I think the line, though, cuts at Cincinnati. I think St. Louis and Miami are out, but not officially. So plenty of baseball to be played. The wild card starts this coming Tuesday. Final day of the regular season is Sunday, where all teams will play, and your guess on what happens is as good as mine. To figure skating. And figure skating is as much about artistry as it is about athleticism, the music, the choreography, the emotion, all of it tied together with the jumps and spins that decide medals. But for reigning world champion Alyssa Liu, the music has suddenly become the story. Liu was set to compete this season and possibly at the Milan Olympics with a short program choreographed to This Is How It Feels, performed by the artist Lafe and David. But after a shocking turn of events involving David, a missing teenager, her body later discovered in a car registered to the musician, Liu has made the decision to scrap the program entirely. Now, it is important to note, Los Angeles police have not implicated David in the young woman's death. His home has been searched, but he has not been named a suspect. Still, the shadow of the investigation was enough for Liu to pivot, as she told the Associated Press this week, quote, "I have to change it. Forced to change my hand," basically. But that's all right. There's nothing like a fresh start. For skaters, programs aren't built overnight. They're crafted over months. The music becomes part of their identity to the ice. To lose one now this late in the build-up to the Olympic season is no small challenge. And yet Liu has made a career out of resilience, from her early national titles to a brief retirement to her stunning comeback world championship last winter. She has continually found ways to reinvent herself. Now she'll do it again. The 20-year-old is expected to be one of 3 American women vying for Milan. Her short program may still be a work in progress, but her place in the sports spotlight is not in doubt. Alyssa Liu's journey continues with new music, new choreography, and the same unshakable drive that's already made her a champion. We go to tonight's final thought. Sports, at their best, can be a refuge. They can be the rare arena where nations, cultures, and even worldviews clash in high-stakes competition without the tragic costs that often accompany rivalries elsewhere. That's what the Ryder Cup has long represented. Golf's biennial U.S. versus European showdown. Over the decades, it has grown more continuous, occasionally uncomfortable, sometimes even petty. But always it has mattered. And this week, it unfolds on one of the game's most demanding stages, Bethpage Black. This is not just another tournament. It is a stage for national pride. It's an event where Sergio Garcia once flipped off hecklers, where Colin Montgomery went from villain to folk hero, where passion has often spilled beyond the ropes. And now in 2025, it is layered with even more complexity. The crowd will be loud, passionate, and unapologetically partisan. And as if that weren't enough, the political backdrop will be unavoidable. The presence of a president who told European leaders their nations were, quote, going to hell, almost ensures that the rhetoric of division will echo even on the first tee. So the question becomes, can golf for 3 days unite a fractured country? Can Americans, red and blue, left and right, set aside the relentless cycle of grievance and outrage and simply root for birdies and putts to fall for players in red, white, and blue? History reminds us that this competition has often reflected something larger, from the War on the Shore in 1991 to the controversial celebrations at Brookline in 1999. to Roy McIlroy's tears of pride and pain at Wesseling Straits just 4 years ago. The Ryder Cup has always been about more than golf. Europe, with its collective spirit forged by Steve Ballesteros and carried through generations, has often been the side that better harnessed that us versus them mentality. 13 wins since 1985, but this week it is America with the home course advantage and the home crowd's roar. Yes, there will be barbs. There will be moments that teeter between rivalry and rancor, but in the end, maybe, just maybe, we will be reminded that sport, unlike politics, can still provide something rare and precious. A contest where passion runs high, but where the stakes, in the end, are only a trophy and pride. The Ryder Cup may not heal America's divisions. That's far too much to ask for any sporting event. But it can give us a pause, if only for a weekend, to cheer together than it has done something meaningful. And that, at least, is worth rooting for. That'll do it for me on a Wednesday night. Till next time, Ryder Bullock reporting. Thank you for your time, and thank you for letting me share mine.